the alien girl pleaded, "Could you just pretend to hold me?" She had no inkling that he was a human magnate of immeasurable wealth. The soaring structures of the illuminated metropolis speared the unfamiliar heavens like radiant lances, their surfaces shimmering with an array of holographic advertisements that bathed the twilight in vibrant blues and vibrant pinks. Talion disembarked from the aerial conveyance, her skin a delicate shade of turquoise catching the synthetic luminescence as she clutched her acceptance document for the Galactic Science Academy. At this moment, the parchment encapsulated her aspirations, her destiny, her escape from the remote fringes of Proxima 9. Her slender digits caressed the raised insignia as she navigated the throng of diverse extraterrestrial beings. Towering, tentacled Mariodians brushed past her. Stocky, strong-armed Krell vendors bartered with patrons, and the occasional human, a rarity in this region, was conspicuous with their peculiar features and symmetrical form. "Just one more day," Talia whispered to herself, tucking a lock of pristine white hair behind her ear. The following dawn, she would report to the Academy's admissions office, settle her tuition, and embark on her quest to become the inaugural xenobiologist from her humble settlement. The communication device on her wrist chimed, projecting a miniature holographic image of her father. His typically serene countenance was contorted with distress. The familiar intricate patterns on his turquoise skin deepened with apprehension. "Talia, my child," he began, his voice faltering. I don't know how to tell you this." A chill settled in her stomach. "Father, what is it?" "They've taken everything." His holographic visage wavered as he ran a hand across his face. "Scammers. They somehow accessed my biometric identification. Our savings, your tuition funds, it's all gone." The world around Talia seemed to decelerate, the neon lights blurring as tears welled in her eyes. "But the Academy, my admission? I've filed reports with the Galactic Financial Authority, but they indicated that recovery could take months, if it's even possible." Her father's holographic eyes met hers. "I am so very sorry, Talia. I have failed you." The communicator slipped from her trembling fingers, striking the pavement with a clatter at the precise moment a tall figure paused beside her. Without a word, the stranger, a human male, stooped to retrieve the device, extending it to her with a steady hand. Talia gazed at him through her tears. His expression remained impassive, unnervingly composed amidst her personal devastation. He was attired in an expensive-looking dark suit that starkly contrasted with his crisp white shirt, his chestnut hair impeccably styled. Deep gray eyes observed her, devoid of pity or censure, offering only quiet contemplation. Something fractured within Talia. Without premeditation, she stepped forward, her voice breaking as she implored, "Please, just pretend to hold me. I truly need this." For an instant, the human remained utterly motionless, and Talia feared she had made a grave error. Then, with surprising tenderness, he encircled her shoulders with one strong arm, drawing her close to his chest. "Thank you," she whispered, allowing herself to succumb to the embrace of this stranger. This human whose name she didn't even know? "Christian man," he stated softly as if divining her thoughts. "And it's no bother at all." Talia was oblivious to the fact that the name was fictitious. She couldn't possibly know that the man holding her was, in reality, Jason McLaren, proprietor of McLaren Interstellar, the conglomerate responsible for humanity's rapid galactic expansion. She was unaware that the seemingly ordinary human offering solace on a bustling Luminina city street possessed wealth exceeding that of many planetary economies. All she perceived was that for a fleeting moment, held within the arms of an unfamiliar individual, her world ceased its unraveling. Jason, for his part, found himself unexpectedly moved by the alien girl's unvarnished emotion. After years of navigating the calculated machinations of business rivals and social climbers, her unguarded vulnerability struck him as something precious and rare. "Would you care to sit somewhere?" he inquired, indicating a nearby establishment. "You appear as though you could benefit from a moment to compose yourself." Talia drew back slightly, a flush of embarrassment tinting her cheeks a deeper shade of blue. "I am so sorry. I don't typically accost strangers in the street." "A first for everything," Jason responded with a trace of a smile. "And technically, you didn't accost me. You sought permission beforehand." A faint laugh escaped her, surprising them both. "I'm Talia," she declared, wiping away her tears. "And I would appreciate that seat, if the offer still stands." As they proceeded towards the cafe, neither could have foreseen how this serendipitous encounter would reshape the trajectory of their lives, or indeed, the future of interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. The cafe, identified as Stellar Brew by its holographic signage, hummed with the gentle murmur of diverse alien dialogues. Jason guided Talia to a secluded corner booth where prismatic light filtered through a transparent canopy, casting ephemeral rainbow patterns upon their table. "So," Jason commenced after ordering 2 servings of their signature beverage, "would you like to discuss what transpired earlier?" Talia's fingers toyed with the edge of her napkin. "It's mortifying. I arrived in Luminina City brimming with such high expectations." She looked up, her gray-blue eyes meeting his. "I was accepted into the xenobiology program at the Galactic Science Academy, the first in my family to pursue advanced education." "That's impressive," Jason remarked, genuinely intrigued. The GSA was notoriously selective, admitting fewer than 3% of applicants. His company's research division routinely recruited from their alumni. "It was impressive," she corrected, her turquoise skin deepening slightly around her cheeks. "The tuition payment was due tomorrow. Without it, my place will be awarded to someone else." Their beverages arrived, steaming mugs emitting an aroma of cinnamon and berries. Jason took a thoughtful sip, observing Talia over the rim of his cup. Her posture remained dignified despite her predicament, her slender shoulders squared with a resilience that resonated with him. "How much is the tuition?" he inquired casually. 50,000 galactic credits, she replied with a hollow chuckle. "Might as well be 50 million for all the good it does me now." Jason suppressed a smile. 50,000 credits was the cost of a fine bottle of wine for him. For McLaren Interstellar, it was a negligible amount. "What if I were to assist?" The words escaped him before he had fully contemplated them. Talia's eyes narrowed. "No offense, but why would you help a stranger, particularly an alien one?" "Perhaps I have a vested interest in scientific progress," he offered with a slight shrug. "My company provides funding for research grants." "Your company?" Talia leaned forward, suddenly attentive. "I thought you said your name was Christian Mann." Jason silently cursed his gaffe. "Christian Mann, a regional talent scout for Orion Ventures. We're a small, human-operated firm that invests in promising students." Talia studied him with a newfound intensity, and Jason found himself unusually affected by her scrutiny. Most beings in the galaxy could not sustain his gaze for long, either out of intimidation or divergence, but she seemed entirely unfazed by whatever power she sensed within him. "That's convenient," she stated, skepticism evident in her tone. "Fortuitous," he corrected with a subtle smile. "For both of us." Their conversation flowed more effortlessly thereafter, transitioning from academic aspirations to cultural divergences. Jason found himself captivated by her perspective on human customs, particularly their physical manifestations of emotion. "On Proxima 9, we rarely engage in physical contact outside of familial units," Talia explained. "That's why I was so—" She paused, searching for the word. "Forward," Jason supplied. "Desperate," she corrected, a hint of vulnerability returning to her expression. "Physical comfort is not something my people typically seek from strangers." "Yet you asked me for a hug," Jason observed, leaning slightly closer. "Well, I've been studying humans," she admitted, her skin flushing a deeper blue. "Your species appears to derive significant psychological benefits from physical contact during emotional distress. Is that all it was? Scientific curiosity?" Jason found himself strangely invested in her response. Talia's gaze flickered down to his lips for the briefest moment. Not entirely. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken potential. Jason hadn't experienced this kind of genuine attraction in years, perhaps ever. His relationships had always been strategic, meticulously planned. This spontaneous connection with Talia felt dangerously authentic. "Your species is fascinating," she continued, her voice softening. "Humans approach the galaxy with such confidence despite being relatively new to interstellar society. You are physically less robust than many species, yet you have secured considerable political and economic influence." "We're tenacious," Jason replied with a slight smile. "And adaptable." "And warm," Talia added, her fingertips brushing his hand with deliberate lightness. Literally, your body temperature runs higher than most sentient species. Jason felt an unexpected jolt at her touch. Is that why you asked me to embrace you? For my warmth? Perhaps, she answered with newfound boldness. Would you be opposed to conducting further research into human proximity interactions? The playful invitation in her voice was unmistakable. Jason found himself responding to her flirtation with an eagerness that surprised him. This was not the calculated seduction to which he was accustomed. This was something raw and genuine. I believe scientific inquiry should always be encouraged, he responded, turning his hand to capture her fingers within his. I have accommodations nearby, more private than a public cafe for detailed studies. Talia's eyes widened slightly, but her fingers remained entwined with his. That would be acceptable for research purposes, of course. Of course, Jason echoed, signaling for the bill with his free hand. Purely academic interest. Neither of them believed it for a second. Jason's private suite occupied the entire top floor of an unmarked edifice on the outskirts of Luminous City's diplomatic quarter. As the elevator ascended in silence, Talia stood close enough for him to perceive the subtle warmth radiating from her turquoise skin. Cooler than a human's, yet warmer than he had anticipated. This is not quite what I envisioned when you mentioned accommodations nearby, she remarked, surveying the sophisticated security features and premium finishes of the elevator. Jason shrugged with practiced nonchalance. Orion Ventures values its talent scouts. The doors opened directly into a spacious lounge area featuring floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the city. Luminous, twin moons hung low in the night sky, casting a silvery glow across the polished surfaces of Jason's temporary abode. This is exquisite, Talia whispered, moving towards the windows. I've never beheld the city from this altitude. Jason watched her, struck by how perfectly she complemented the backdrop of his existence. Her slender silhouette against the celestial expanse, her white hair catching the moonlight. It was a disquieting thought. A drink, he offered, approaching a discreet bar console. Yes, please. She turned to face him, her gray-blue eyes reflecting the city's illumination. Something human, if you have it. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey. Genuine earth whiskey, not the synthetic imitation prevalent in this sector. As he handed her the glass, their fingers brushed, and Jason felt that same unexpected surge of connection. To scientific inquiry, he proposed, raising his glass. Talia smiled. 2 unexpected encounters. They drank, and Jason observed her reaction to the unfamiliar taste, the slight widening of her eyes, the delicate movement of her throat as she swallowed. It burns, she stated with surprise, but pleasantly. Humans find enjoyment in sensations that skirt the edge of discomfort, Jason explained, moving closer. It's intrinsic to our nature. Fascinating. Talia set down her glass and stepped towards him, closing the remaining distance between them. What other human traits should I be aware of? The atmosphere between them seemed charged with latent energy. Jason found himself acutely aware of every detail about her. The subtle pattern of slightly darker turquoise markings along her temples, the way her pulse visibly quickened at the base of her throat. We are tactile creatures, he said, his voice deepening. We communicate through touch as much as through words. Show me, she whispered. Jason reached out, tracing the curve of her cheek with his fingertips. Her skin felt like warm silk beneath his touch, possessing a subtle texture unlike anything human. Talia's eyelids fluttered shut as she leaned into his hand. Your temperature, she murmured. It's intoxicating. When their lips finally met, Jason was unprepared for the intensity of his own response. What began as gentle exploration rapidly devolved into something more urgent, more primal. Talia's arms encircled his neck, drawing him closer with surprising strength. Hours later, they lay entangled in the sheets of Jason's bed, the city lights casting patterns across their intertwined forms. Talia's head rested on his chest, her white hair spilling across his skin like liquid moonlight. That was, she began, then chuckled softly. I don't think I possess the requisite vocabulary in your language. Jason smiled, tracing patterns along the curve of her spine. I believe the conventional human expression is out of this world. Her laughter vibrated against his chest. How fitting. In that moment of quiet intimacy, Jason felt an unfamiliar pressure building behind his ribs, the weight of his deception. For the first time in years, he wished he could simply be himself with someone. Not Jason McLaren, billionaire industrialist and architect of humanity's galactic expansion, but merely a man. Talia shifted against him, reaching for her communicator on the bedside table. I should inform my father. Let him know I'm safe. As she activated the device, Jason noticed something peculiar. A brief flicker in the holographic display. A momentary distortion that should not have been present. His security training immediately kicked in. May I see that? He inquired casually. Talia handed him the communicator with a curious expression. Is something amiss? Jason examined the device meticulously, maintaining a neutral facade as he confirmed his suspicion. The communicator had been compromised with surveillance software far more sophisticated than common scammer tools. Just checking compatibility with human networks, he lied smoothly, returning it to her. If you intend to remain on planet for your studies, you might require an upgrade. Talia's expression clouded. If I remain, that's still a hypothetical, isn't it? Not if I have anything to say about it, Jason declared, making a decision. I will contact my company in the morning. Consider your scholarship secured. Her eyes widened. Oh, Christian, I can't possibly accept that. You barely know me. I know enough, he stated simply. Talia studied his face for a long moment before leaning in to kiss him again, this time with gentle gratitude rather than fervent passion. Thank you. As she initiated her call, speaking to her father in her native tongue, a melodic cascade of sounds that Jason's translator only partially deciphered. She said, he slipped from the bed and moved to his secure terminal in the adjacent office. A swift scan of Talia's communicator signature revealed his fears. The surveillance program was military-grade, bearing the digital imprints of the Proximan Security Directorate. Why would Proxima 9's intelligence agency be monitoring a student's communications? More troubling was what his system uncovered when he ran Talia's name through his company's private database. Her father was not merely any Proximan citizen. He was Eldon Nex, the Deputy Minister of Interspecies Relations, and a vocal opponent of increased human presence in the Proximan sector. Jason leaned back, his mind racing. Was Talia cognizant of the surveillance? Was her chance encounter with him truly coincidental? The cynical part of him, the part that had kept him alive and successful in the cutthroat realm of interstellar commerce, whispered cautionary notes. But then he recalled the genuine shock etched on her face when she received her father's call, the unguarded vulnerability in her eyes when she requested his embrace. Whatever game was being played here, he suspected Talia was not a willing participant. Dawn broke over Luminous City, painting the skyline in hues of amber and rose. Jason stood at the window, observing the metropolis stir to life while Talia slept peacefully in his bed. Her white hair cascaded across his dark sheets like a nebula against the void of space. He had barely slept, his mind a whirlwind of questions and calculations. The encrypted message he had dispatched to his security chief, Commander Holt, had elicited an immediate response. Investigating. Remain in place. Maintain cover. Typical Holt, curt to the point of efficiency. The former Earth Alliance Special Forces operative had been with Jason since the nascent days when McLaren Interstellar was merely a fledgling shipping company with 3 refitted cargo haulers. Talia stirred, stretching languidly before opening her eyes. Upon spotting him by the window, her lips curved into a smile that tightened his chest. Good morning, she said, her voice still husky from sleep. Have you been observing me? Just contemplating, he replied, moving to sit on the edge of the bed. She reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. About how to get you into that academy. Not entirely untrue. I've sent some communiques. We should receive a response today. Talia sat up, the sheet sliding away to reveal the elegant patterns of slightly darker turquoise that traced across her shoulders and collarbone. Jason found himself momentarily diverted by the memory of tracing those patterns with his fingertips, his lips. You are truly serious about assisting me, she stated, wonder coloring her voice. Why? Jason tucked a strand of white hair behind her ear, allowing his fingers to linger against her cheek. Let's just say you've made quite an impression. Her gray-blue eyes scrutinized his face. Last night was I don't have extensive experience with humans, but I suspect what transpired between us isn't commonplace. No? Jason agreed, leaning in to kiss her softly. It's not at all common. The communicator on his desk chimed with Holt's distinctive tone. Excuse me, he said reluctantly, pulling away. A business call. In his office, he activated the secure channel. Holt's weathered face appeared, his expression grim. Sir, we have identified the surveillance program. It's not solely Proximate security. It has been modified with code from the Galactic Financial Authority. Jason frowned, the same organization investigating the theft from Talia's family. Yes, sir. But here's where it becomes interesting. Holt's image was replaced by financial records. The theft was, in fact, a fund transferred to an account at the Galactic Science Academy, authorized by Deputy Minister Eldon Nex himself. Her father orchestrated the theft. Why? Yes, we're still piecing that together, but we've uncovered connections between Nex and Dean Thorax of the Academy's admissions committee. Thorax has been consistently rejecting human applicants for years while accepting less qualified aliens. Jason's mind raced. They're utilizing the Academy for some purpose. Indeed, sir. And there's more. The scammer syndicate that supposedly absconded with Nex's funds is actually a front for an extremist organization known as Proxima Prime, anti-human terrorists. And Talia, is she involved? Holt's expression softened slightly. All evidence suggests she is unaware, sir. Her academic credentials are legitimate. Impressive, in fact. But her admission came with specific stipulations from Dean Thorax himself. What stipulations? She has been assigned to the Xenobiology Department's Human Physiology Research Team. Jason felt a chill of realization wash over him. They're using her to gather intelligence on humans. It would appear so, sir. And given your interaction with her, you may have inadvertently become a data point. Jason's thoughts drifted to the adjoining chamber where Talia waited, recalling the sheer astonishment in her gaze as they discovered one another, the unvarnished vulnerability that had softened her features. No, he stated with conviction. She is entirely detached from this matter, at least not by her own volition. Sir, with all due deference, continue your ongoing inquiry. Hold. I require a comprehensive dossier on Proxima Prime, Dean Thor, and Deputy Minister Nex. Furthermore, I need a detailed list of potential strategies for the safe repatriation of Miss Nex, should the circumstances necessitate it. Understood, sir? However, permit me to propose a more judicious approach to your personal involvement. Jason offered a tight, humorless smile. Noted, Commander McLaren. Transmission concluded. Upon his return to the bedroom, Talia had draped herself in one of his garments and was observing the sprawling urban panorama from the vantage point of the window. The sight of her adorned in his attire ignited a possessive sensation within him, an emotion he had not anticipated. Is everything proceeding smoothly? She inquired, turning to face him. Merely professional matters, he responded with practiced ease, moving to position himself behind her. He encircled her waist with his arms, drawing her back against his torso as they both surveyed the cityscape. Would you be amenable to accompanying me to a formal gathering at the Galactic Science Academy this evening? A subtle tension curdled her form within his embrace. The Academy? For what purpose? Orion Ventures is a significant patron, he replied, improvising. It's their annual benefactors' reception. This presents an ideal occasion to engage with the admissions board regarding your circumstances. Talia pivoted within his hold, her discerning eyes scrutinizing his countenance. You would undertake this on my behalf? As I assured you, I would lend my assistance, he stated, bestowing a light kiss upon her forehead. My word is my bond. She leaned into him, her arms encircling his neck. In that case, yes, I would be delighted to attend, although I have nothing suitable to wear for such an occasion. Jason's lips curved into a smile, his mind already charting a course of action. Leave that detail to me. As they shared another embrace, more fervent than their previous encounter, Jason consciously pushed aside his mounting suspicions and the cautionary pronouncements from Hall. This evening would undoubtedly unveil the truth concerning the Academy, the enigma of Proxima Prime, and the woman in his arms, whose touch had, inexplicably, breached fortifications he had painstakingly erected over a lifetime. For the present moment, however, he would permit himself this brief interlude of connection, whether authentic or feigned. Jason's personal communicator emitted a soft chime just as Talia withdrew into the adjacent bathroom. Commander Holt's visage materialized, his expression etched with alarm. "Sir, we are confronting a critical situation. Proxima Prime operatives have been traced to your domicile. We have identified 6 heavily armed individuals within the service elevator. Their estimated arrival time is 3 minutes." Jason's cognitive processes instantly shifted to a tactical framework. "Initiate the extraction protocol. Our response team is en route, but their ETA is 8 minutes. I advise immediate evacuation utilizing emergency procedures." "Understood. Maintain constant updates." Jason terminated the communication and moved with swift purpose towards a seemingly unremarkable wall panel. His thumb made contact, causing it to retract and reveal a concealed cache containing a compact pulse weapon, essential emergency identification, and a portable defensive energy emitter. The bathroom portal glided open, revealing Talia wrapped in a towel, her damp pale hair clinging to her shoulders. Her smile faltered as her gaze fell upon the firearm in his grasp. "Christian, what is transpiring?" Jason made a swift, decisive judgment. "We must depart immediately. Uninvited guests are approaching, and their intentions are hostile." Her cerulean eyes widened. "Hostile? Why would anyone?" "I will provide an explanation once we are secure. But for now, I require your complete trust." He tossed her the attire she had worn the previous day. "Dress with haste." To her credit, Talia did not falter with additional inquiries. She let the towel fall and donned her clothing with economical movements, betraying an unexpected level of composure. Jason averted his gaze, concentrating on activating the domicile's defensive systems. "Ready," she announced moments later, her voice betraying a tremor despite the palpable fear in her eyes. Jason took her hand. "Stay close. Whatever transpires, do not release my grasp." He guided her towards what appeared to be a storage closet, but was in fact an emergency egress tunnel, a private conveyance that descended to a secure subterranean vehicle bay. As the portals sealed behind them, the primary elevator servicing his penthouse announced its arrival. "Who are they?" Talia inquired, her fingers tightening around his. "A paramilitary organization known as Proxima Prime," Jason responded, observing the rapid decline of the floor indicators. "They are anti-human extremists." Her complexion shifted to a lighter shade of aquamarine. "From my homeworld? But why would they—" The conveyance halted abruptly, plunging them into absolute darkness before auxiliary illumination flickered to life, casting a muted crimson glow. "They've managed to compromise the building's systems, Homer," Jason muttered, drawing his pulse pistol. "We are trapped between levels." Talia's respiration quickened. "What is our course of action?" Jason examined the ceiling access panel. "We ascend." With practiced economy of motion, he dislodged the emergency hatch and pulled himself upward. From above, he extended his hand towards Talia, who leaped with surprising nimbleness to grasp his offered fingers. As he drew her through the opening, their bodies became intimately pressed in the confined space. Notwithstanding the imminent peril, Jason found himself compelled to acknowledge the seamless fit of her form against his, the captivating aroma of citrus and ozone that enveloped his senses. "And now," she whispered, her lips mere millimeters from his ear. "A maintenance shaft. We will descend to the subsequent level and force the access portals." They descended in hushed silence, the metallic rungs chilling beneath her fingertips. Upon reaching the next set of doors, Jason activated his defensive emitter, conjuring a shimmering azure barrier around them. "Stand clear," he instructed, wedging his digits into the seam separating the portals. With a forceful exertion, he pried them apart, revealing an empty corridor. "This way," he directed, taking her hand once more as they broke into a sprint towards the emergency stairwell. 3 flights below, they discerned the heavy cadence of pursuit echoing from above. Jason drew Talia into a service passageway, pressing her against the wall as they momentarily recovered their breath. "You are more than merely a talent scout, aren't you?" she queried, her gaze attempting to decipher his features in the subdued illumination. "No," he conceded, "but I am not your adversary, Talia. I give you my word." Her fingers lightly caressed his cheek. "I believe you." The unfeigned sincerity in her voice evoked a peculiar sensation in Jason's chest. He leaned forward, capturing her lips in an intense kiss, which she reciprocated with equal fervor. For a fleeting instant, the immediate danger receded, supplanted by the palpable current of connection between them. A distant concussive blast jolted them apart. "They are drawing nearer," Jason announced, checking his weapon. "We must continue our movement." They proceeded downwards, ultimately emerging into a maintenance depot where a sleek, unmarked grav vehicle awaited. Jason placed his palm on the biometric scanner, and the vehicle hummed to readiness. "Board the vehicle," he commanded, settling into the pilot's seat. "Hey." As they accelerated out of the structure via a service conduit, Talia finally posed the question he had been anticipating with a sense of dread. "Do these radicals have any connection to my father? To the embezzled funds?" Jason kept his gaze fixed on the tunnel ahead. "What prompts you to inquire?" "The timing. The fact that they located us with such alacrity." Her tone sharpened slightly. "And the manner in which you are evading my question." He sighed. "Your father was not robbed, Talia. He orchestrated the transfer of the assets himself." "The Academy?" She stared at him, astonishment clearly evident on her face. "That is inconceivable. Why would he deceive me?" "I do not possess all the particulars as yet," Jason replied cautiously. "However, I am of the belief that he is allied with Proxima Prime and Dean Thorax at the Academy. They are formulating a scheme, and they specifically desired your presence at the Academy for a defined objective." Talia's expression cycled through a spectrum of emotions: disbelief, hurt, anger, before settling into a resolute demeanor that reminded Jason precisely why he had been drawn to her from the outset. "Then let us uncover their plan," she declared with unwavering firmness, "and thwart it." Jason offered a wry smile as they exited the tunnel onto a bustling aerial thoroughfare. "That is precisely my intention." The grav vehicle descended through the cloud strata, heading towards what appeared to be an undeveloped expanse of forest on the luminous periphery. As they drew closer, a section of the terrain retracted, revealing a concealed landing platform. "What is this location?" Talia asked, her grip tightening on the edge of her seat. Jason guided the vehicle into the subterranean hangar, where several human security personnel stood ready, weapons held in a non-threatening posture. "This," he stated as the engines powered down, "is where I cease my deception of you." The security contingent approached, led by a seasoned human male with closely cropped gray hair and the commanding presence of a career military officer. "Sir," the man acknowledged with a solemn nod, "the perimeter is secure. No pursuit has been detected." "Thank you, Hall." Jason turned to Talia, whose expression had transitioned from bewilderment to dawning realization. "Sir," she repeated, "they are aware of your identity." Jason inhaled deeply. "My designation is not Christian Man. It is Jason McLaren." Talia's eyes widened. "McLaren, as in McLaren Interstellar, the human consortium that established the initial successful trade routes between Earth and the proximate sector." "Correct," Jason confirmed. She took a step back, her aquamarine complexion growing paler. "You are not merely affluent. You are the most prosperous individual in this galactic quadrant. Potentially the most influential as well." Talia's gaze hardened. "So, everything was a fabrication. The talent scout persona, the scholarship offer." "Not everything," Jason interjected, reaching for her hand. She permitted the contact but remained stiff. "My interest in you is genuine, Talia. More authentic than anything I have experienced in years." Commander Holt cleared his throat. "Sir, the briefing chamber is prepared?" Jason nodded. "We shall be there shortly." As Hall and his contingent withdrew, Talia pulled her hand away. "Why the subterfuge? Was this some kind of elaborate amusement for you?" "No," Jason stated with unwavering resolve. "I highly value my privacy. When I am recognized as Jason McLaren, individuals perceive the wealth, the power, not the individual. With you, for a singular occasion, I was merely a man." Some element in his demeanor must have conveyed his sincerity, for Talia's posture softened slightly. "And now," she inquired, "who are you?" Jason offered a rueful smile. "Still merely a man, but one possessing resources that may assist us in comprehending the machinations of your father and Proxima Prime. He extended his hand once more. After a brief hesitation, she accepted it. The briefing chamber bore a striking resemblance to an ancient Earth war room, featuring a large central table displaying holographic projections of data streams and surveillance imagery. Commander Holt stood at attention as they entered. "Miss Nex," he acknowledged with a respectful inclination of his head. "I am Commander Holt, head of Mr. McLaren's security division." "The intelligence provided by Holt?" Jason prompted, guiding Talia to a seat. "Affirmative, sir." Holt activated a series of holographic displays. "We have conducted an analysis of communications between Deputy Minister Nex, Dean Thorax, and recognized Proxima Prime operatives. They referenced an undertaking designated Project Purification." Talia flinched at the appellation. "That is a term employed by Proximan religious extremists. It denotes the eradication of corrupting influences from our civilization. In this instance," Holt continued, "the contaminating element appears to be humanity. We have uncovered corroborating evidence indicating that the Xenobiology Department at the Galactic Science Academy has been engaged in the development of a biological agent specifically designed to target human deoxyribonucleic acid." "A weapon?" Jason inquired grimly. "Indeed, sir. And according to the intercepted communications, they are currently in the advanced stages of testing." Talia shook her head in disbelief. "My father would never participate in such a heinous endeavor. He is a diplomat, not a terrorist." Holt projected a recorded segment. Deputy Minister Eldon Nex appeared on the display. His aquamarine features, strikingly similar to Talia's, were set in a cold, impassive expression as he addressed an unseen audience. "The inexorable expansion of humanity must be curtailed," Nex's recorded voice proclaimed. "Their biology, their cultural practices, their very existence pose a threat to the unblemished purity of our way of life. Project Purification will ensure that Proxima remains unsullied by human encroachment." Talia's hands began to tremble as she observed the playback. That is not the father I recognize." Jason gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Individuals are capable of concealing their true convictions, even from those closest to them." "And I was intended to be a component of this scheme?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Hall nodded affirmatively. "Your enrollment in the xenobiology program was not a matter of chance. Dean Thorax specifically requested your participation on the human physiology research team. They intended to utilize my research to facilitate the development of their weapon," Talia realized, horror dawning in her eyes. "And they orchestrated the theft to create a sense of desperation, ensuring I would accept any opportunity to remain at the academy." "That appears to be the case," Hall confirmed. Talia rose abruptly and began pacing the room. "I need time to process this." Jason nodded to Hall, who tactfully withdrew, leaving them in solitude. "I am profoundly sorry," Jason stated softly. "I understand this is an overwhelming revelation." Talia turned to him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Why did you bring me here? Why expose me to all of this? You could have simply left me behind." Jason moved towards her, compelled by an inexplicable impulse. "Because from the very moment you requested an embrace from a stranger on that street, something shifted. I've spent years constructing emotional barriers, shielding myself from genuine connection. And then, you simply shattered them." He reached for her, half anticipating resistance. Instead, she stepped into his embrace, her form fitting against his with the same seamless perfection as the previous night. "I am afraid," she admitted against his chest, "of my father's involvement, of what may transpire next." "We will prevent them," Jason vowed, tilting her face upwards. Their lips met in a kiss that felt like a homecoming. A peculiar sentiment for a man who owned estates on 12 different celestial bodies, yet had never felt truly at peace in any of them. With Talia in his arms, the weight of his responsibilities, his immense wealth, his considerable power, all seemed to diminish into the background. When they finally separated, Talia's expression had transformed from despair to an unyielding determination. "So," she said, a trace of her former spirit resurfacing, "what is the plan, Mr. Billionaire?" Talia's communicator chimed with an incoming transmission, startling both her and Jason. The holographic display revealed her father's identifier. "He is attempting to reach me," she announced, her voice tight with conflicting emotions. Jason's expression darkened. "It could be a stratagem. They might be attempting to pinpoint your location. Or he may be genuinely concerned for my well-being." Talia's fingers hovered over the accept icon. "I need to understand the why, Jason. I need to hear it from him directly." After a moment of deliberation, Jason nodded to Hall, who had returned to the briefing room. "Initiate a secure relay. Scramble our current coordinates." "Yes, sir." Hall's fingers moved rapidly over a control panel. "Ready when you are, Miss Nex." Talia inhaled deeply and accepted the call. Her father's visage materialized, his aquamarine features etched with apparent apprehension. "Talia, thank the ancestors you are unharmed. Where are you located?" "In a secure locale," she responded with caution, "which is more than I can claim for the humans you intend to annihilate." Eldon Nex's expression shifted. The facade of paternal concern dissolved to reveal calculated intent. "So, you are aware of Project Purification?" "Yes. How could you, Father? You instilled in me the values of peace and scientific advancement." "I instilled in you loyalty to your people," he retorted, his tone hardening. "Humans are a blight, Talia. They arrived in our sector barely 50 years ago, and already they dominate our trade routes, influence our governance, and corrupt our youth with their alien culture." "That is not entirely accurate," Talia countered. "They have introduced technological innovations and medical breakthroughs." "At what cost?" Nex demanded. "Our very identity, our autonomy. Look at yourself, daughter. I have observed your surveillance consorting with a human male as if you were some commoner." "Careful," Jason warned, stepping into the holographic display's field of view. "That is your daughter you are addressing." Nex's eyes narrowed. "You? I should have anticipated it. McLaren himself, not content with economic dominance, now attempts to seduce the daughters of Proxima officials." "I was not seduced," Talia snapped, her skin flushing a deeper shade of azure with indignation. "I made my own choices, just as I am choosing now to thwart you." "You cannot impede what has already been set in motion," Nex replied, his voice suddenly calm. "The weapon will be deployed at tomorrow's Interspecies Cooperation Summit. Every human diplomat, businessman, and cultural attaché will be in attendance, including, I presume, yourself, McLaren." Jason's countenance remained impassive, but Talia felt him tense beside her. "Father, please," she pleaded. "This is genocide. You will instigate a war." "A war we will win," Nex declared. "The weapon targets only human deoxyribonucleic acid. Once they are eradicated from our sector, the other species will undoubtedly fall into line." "You are deluded," Jason stated quietly. "Earth will not stand idly by, while its citizens are systematically slaughtered. They will retaliate with a force you cannot possibly comprehend." "Let them attempt it," Nex sneered. "By then we will have adapted the weapon for Earth's ecosystem." Talia felt a wave of nausea. "This is not you, Father. This is not the man who taught me to value all forms of life." A flicker of something, doubt, perhaps regret, crossed Nex's features. "It is too late, Talia. The weapon is prepared. The deployment units are positioned." "It is never too late to rectify a wrong," she insisted. "Return home," Nex said, his voice softening slightly. "I can protect you when this commences. You are still my daughter." "And you are still my father," Talia responded. "Which is precisely why I must stop you." She terminated the transmission, her hand trembling. "He is truly proceeding with it," she whispered. Jason turned to Hall. "The summit commences at 9 a.m. tomorrow. How many humans are expected to be present?" "Over 300, sir, in addition to approximately 700 alien diplomats and officials. We must warn them," Talia stated. Jason shook his head. "If we incite panic, Proxima Prime may initiate the weapon's deployment prematurely. We must neutralize it first." "How?" Talia inquired. "We lack knowledge of the weapon's form or its delivery method." Jason's communicator beeped with an incoming message. He scanned it rapidly, his expression darkening. Our intelligence division has just intercepted communications between Dean Thorax and the summit's chief of security, a proximan named Krell. They referenced atmospheric dispersal systems being installed under the guise of climate control enhancements. Airborne dissemination, Talia concluded, her scientific acumen rapidly assessing the implications. If it is engineered to specifically target human deoxyribonucleic acid, it must be a tailored pathogen or a nanite swarm. Can you neutralize it? Jason inquired. Talia bit her lip. Potentially, but I would require the analysis of a sample first, to understand its operational mechanism. Then we shall procure a sample for you, Jason decided, turning to Hull. Prepare an assault team. We will infiltrate the Academy's research facility this evening. As Hull departed to initiate the preparations, Jason drew Talia into a secluded alcove adjacent to the main briefing chamber. You are not obligated to participate in this, he said softly. This is not your personal conflict. Talia placed her hand against his cheek. It became my conflict the moment I solicited an embrace from a stranger on a city thoroughfare. The tenderness in her touch ignited something within Jason that transcended mere desire. For an individual accustomed to meticulously calculating every maneuver, every relationship in terms of strategic advantage and inherent risk, the pure emotion he felt for Talia was both terrifying and exhilarating. If we surmount this ordeal, he murmured, drawing her closer, I wish to show you Earth, its vast oceans, its majestic mountains, all of it. I would cherish that, she whispered, her lips brushing against his. But first, we have a world to preserve. Their kiss was distinct this time, not the fervent exploration of uncharted territory, nor the desperate connection of fugitives on the run, but a solemn promise, a declaration of something neither was entirely prepared to articulate. When they rejoined the others, both bore expressions of unwavering resolve. The night ahead would dictate not only their individual destinies, but, quite possibly, the very trajectory of interspecies relations across the galaxy. I need to comprehend the full scope of what we are confronting, Talia stated, addressing the assembled security personnel. My father mentioned the weapon is ready, which implies that testing has concluded. There must be extant records, samples within the Academy's xenobiology laboratory. Then that is precisely our objective, Jason replied, his hand finding hers. Silhouetted against the inky expanse, the research division of the Galactic Science Academy stood as a colossal, radiant guardian. Jason and Talia, accompanied by a select group of human operatives, navigated the clandestine utility conduits, their path illuminated by schematics procured by Holt from a cooperative engineer within Luminous City. All security measures are neutralized, Holt's voice, a mere whisper transmitted through their secure comms, informed them. You have a 7-minute operational window. Jason acknowledged his team with a subtle nod. Our priority is acquiring samples and data. Lethal force is a last resort, strictly for dire necessity. The clandestine entry unfolded with unsettling ease. Talia's unease grew. The absence of any opposition struck her as peculiar as they reached the xenobiology laboratory. The vast expanse seemed abandoned, save for the stark emergency lighting that cast a pale glow on the pristine white surfaces. Something is amiss, she voiced her concern, her gaze sweeping over the laboratory apparatus. This place should be teeming with personnel, particularly given the preparations for tomorrow's event. Jason gestured for his team to establish a defensive perimeter while he accessed a computer console. The device isn't here, he confirmed, his voice tight. These logs indicate all specimens were transported to the summit venue 3 hours ago. A soft exhalation from pneumatic doors made them both pivot. Standing in the entryway, alone and unarmed, was Deputy Minister Eldon Neck. Father, Talia breathed, astonishment etched on her face. I anticipated your arrival here, Neck stated, his tone heavy with weariness. Your investigative diligence has always been commendable. Jason leveled his pulse pistol. Where is the weapon, Nex? As you have ascertained, it is already at the summit venue, Nex replied, taking another step into the laboratory, his hands raised to signal his lack of weaponry. However, I have not come to impede your efforts. I am here to assist. Talia moved closer, her eyes fixed on her father's countenance. Why should we place our trust in you? Following our prior discussion, I re-evaluated the final assessment results, Nex explained, a slump in his shoulders betraying his distress. The weapon is not as precisely targeted as Thorax proclaimed. It will not discriminate solely against humans. It will impact any species sharing similar genetic markers. He shook his head. The projected casualty figures are catastrophic. Billions could perish, including many of our own Proximans. Jason's voice was laced with ice. So, you've experienced a convenient change of heart now that your own kin are imperiled. Your suspicion is warranted, Nex conceded. But Talia does not deserve to witness her father become complicit in mass annihilation. Tears welled in Talia's eyes. You were truly prepared to go through with it. Had the weapon performed as intended, its deployment would have been irreversible, Nex admitted. I genuinely believed I was safeguarding our civilization. I was mistaken. Enmity has consumed me. It has clouded the judgment of all of us on Proxima Prime. Jason's communicator emitted an urgent beep. Sir? Holt's voice crackled through the comms. We have been detected. Academy security forces are converging on your location. Estimated arrival? 2 minutes. We must depart, Jason declared, lowering his weapon. Nex, if your offer of assistance is sincere, now is the moment to act. Thorax and his contingent are already at the summit venue, Nex stated rapidly. They have integrated the dispersal mechanism within the main ventilation nexus. Activation is scheduled for the commencement of the opening ceremonies at 9:30. That leaves us less than 2 hours, Talia observed, glancing at her chronometer. A distant siren began to wail. This way, Nex urged, guiding them towards a service egress. My diplomatic clearance can grant us access to the summit. They narrowly reached the exit before Academy security forces stormed the laboratory behind them. Jason's team provided suppressing fire as they vanished into the pre-dawn gloom. My transport awaits nearby, Nex announced, leading them towards a diplomatic shuttle. As they boarded, Jason drew Talia aside. Can we rely on him? She paused, then nodded. Yes, though he was misguided. He would never jeopardize my life, and he certainly wouldn't confess his involvement to us if he didn't intend to help. The shuttle ascended, accelerating towards the summit venue, a magnificent edifice of glass and steel situated at the core of Luminous City's diplomatic enclave. Dawn was breaking as they touched down, casting elongated shadows across the plaza where dignitaries were already beginning to assemble. Gaining entry through the primary facade will undoubtedly trigger alarms, Jason remarked. Security will be exceptionally stringent. There is a service entrance accessible via the kitchens, Nex suggested. It offers a less conspicuous route. As they approached, 2 Proximan security personnel stepped forward to intercept them. Before Jason could intervene, Nex straightened to his full imposing height, an aura of authority emanating from him. Duty Minister Nex, he announced, his voice resonating. These individuals are my trusted aides. We are conducting a final security sweep. The guards hesitated, then inclined their heads deferentially. Understood, Minister. Please proceed. Once inside, Nex led them through a labyrinth of service corridors towards the central ventilation hub. Thorax will have operatives stationed, he cautioned. Allow me to handle them, Jason responded, his hand instinctively going to his weapon. They rounded a corner, finding themselves face to face with Dean Thorax himself, flanked by 4 Proxima Prime operatives. Nex? Thorax's multifaceted eyes widened in astonishment. What brings you here? And in the company of a human? His gaze then shifted to Talia. And your disloyal daughter. It concludes here, Thorax, Nex declared. I have reviewed the test data. The weapon will decimate our own people as well. Acceptable losses, Thorax hissed. The human infestation must be purged, regardless of the repercussions. Not today, Jason stated, raising his weapon. Chaos erupted as Thorax's guards launched their assault. Jason, exhibiting surprising agility for someone perceived as a businessman, neutralized 2 attackers with swift, accurate shots, while Nex engaged a third in hand-to-hand combat. Talia deftly evaded a guard's wild swing, delivering a precise strike to a vital nerve cluster, a defensive maneuver from her rural upbringing that Jason had not anticipated. Thorax seized the momentary distraction to flee towards the ventilation hub. Talia pursued him relentlessly, with Jason close on her heels. They cornered him at the control panel, where a sinister canister was attached to the air circulation system. Step away from the controls, Jason commanded. Thorax emitted a harsh metallic laugh. Too late, human. The sequence has already been initiated. Talia rushed to the panel, her scientific instincts taking over as she rapidly assessed the critical situation. He is correct. The weapon is already integrated into the system. It will activate in 7 minutes, coinciding with the ventilation system's cycle for the ceremony. Can you halt it? Jason inquired urgently. Not from this terminal, she replied frantically, her eyes darting across the intricate controls. However, I might be able to neutralize it by altering its molecular composition. You will require this, Nex stated, withdrawing a small vial from his pocket. The stabilizing compound. Without it, the weapon will naturally break down into inert elements. Thorax lunged for the vial, but Jason intercepted him, slamming him against the wall with sufficient force to fracture his exoskeletal plating. Humanity's resilience is not solely physical, Jason growled. It resides in our unwavering resolve to endure, to safeguard those we cherish, irrespective of their species. Talia worked with frantic intensity, injecting the compound into the ventilation system. It's working, she exclaimed, as monitoring screens displayed the weapon's molecular structure disintegrating. The pathogen is being neutralized. Security alarms blared as summit guards, alerted by the disturbance, surrounded them, weapons at the ready. Stand down, Nex commanded, stepping forward with an authoritative air. I am Deputy Minister Nex Approximate. These humans and my daughter have just averted a catastrophic terrorist attack that would have claimed every life present at this summit. Hours later, following extensive debriefings and explanations, Jason and Talia stood on a balcony overlooking the summit hall. Human and alien diplomats mingled peacefully, oblivious to the precipice of disaster from which they had been pulled. What lies ahead? Talia inquired, resting her head on Jason's shoulder. Your father will face repercussions for his actions, but his cooperation will be taken into account, Jason replied, his arm encircling her waist. As for Thorax and Proxima Prime, their operation will be dismantled. And us? She turned to face him, her gray-blue eyes searching his. Remember when you asked me to feign affection? Jason smiled, drawing her closer. I'm finished with pretense, Talia. Regarding anything. He reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small, elegant box. I was sincere about showing you Earth. McLaren Interstellar is establishing a new xenobiology research center there. They will require a brilliant director. Talia's eyes widened as he opened the box, revealing a ring that brilliantly captured the complementary hues of their respective worlds, Earth's deep blue and Proxima's vibrant turquoise. Is this a human tradition? She asked, her voice a mere whisper. A very ancient one, Jason confirmed. It signifies my request for you to remain with me, not solely for academic pursuits, not just for this moment, but for as long as you desire. Humans are truly extraordinary, Talia murmured, her fingers tracing the contours of his face. You confront the universe with such remarkable courage, such profound openness, even after what my people attempted. Not your people, Jason corrected gently. A few extremists. There is a fundamental difference. Talia smiled, accepting the ring and sliding it onto her finger. Then, yes, Jason McLaren, I embrace your human custom. All of them. As they sealed their commitment with a kiss, the initial beams of the luminous sun bathed them in a radiant golden light, heralding a new dawn for them, and perhaps for interspecies relations across the galaxy.